Most companies compete inside the world as it exists, a few try to improve it, but the rarest ones rewrite the rules so completely that everything built before them becomes obsolete. These are not better companies, these are last generation companies, and Helion Energy is trying to become one of them. Because energy isn't just another industry, it is the base layer of civilization. Every breakthrough, every economy, every technological leap is ultimately constrained by how much energy we can produce, how cheaply we can produce it, and how reliably we can scale it. And right now, the system is fragile. We burn finite resources to create power, we depend on weather to sustain renewables, we build massive infrastructure that takes decades to deploy. And even nuclear, the most powerful solution we have, is slowed down by cost, regulation, and complexity. The world doesn't feel energy scarcity directly, it feels it indirectly through high cost, slow progress, invisible limits. This is the hidden bottleneck, not energy itself, but the lack of abundant, controllable, always on energy. For decades, fusion was supposed to solve this, the ultimate power source, clean, dense, nearly limitless. But fusion has a reputation not as a solution but as a joke, always 20 years away. And the reason is deeper than failure, it's mindset. Most fusion efforts are built like national monuments, giant tokamaks, billions in funding, decades of research, all chasing a single perfect machine that could run continuously without breaking. They optimized for stability, but in doing so, they sacrificed speed. And without iteration, progress slowed to a crawl. That's why fusion never really became a product. It remained a project. Helion saw this differently, not as physicists chasing perfection, but as engineers building a system. Their core belief is simple but radically contrarian. Fusion doesn't need to be continuous to be useful. It just needs to be repeatable, controllable, and directly convertible into electricity. That shift turns fusion from a science experiment into a machine. Instead of building a reactor that runs forever, Helion built something closer to an engine, a system that fires in pulses again and again. Each pulse a control star. Here's how it works. First, Helion creates two packets of plasma using fuels like deuterium and helium-3. These aren't random clouds. They are shaped, magnetically confined structures engineered for precision. Then these two plasma formations are accelerated from opposite ends of a linear chamber faster and faster until they collide. At the center, the collision creates extreme conditions, temperatures over 100 million degrees, pressures so intense enough to force atomic nuclei to fuse. For a fraction of a second, matter turns into energy. But this is where Helion breaks from tradition, because instead of capturing that helium as heat, boiling water, spinning turbines, and converting it into electricity, they skip the entire industrial layer. They pull electricity directly from the reaction. As the plasma expands after fusion, it pushes against magnetic fields, generating an electric current, like regenerative braking in reverse. Energy is extracted directly from motion and magnetic flux. No steam, no turbines, no inefficiency stack, just fusion to electricity. And because the system is already pulsed, it can fire repeatedly, once per second, maybe faster over time. This is the real innovation. Not just fusion, but a fusion system designed for iteration. Each pulse is data, each cycle is an improvement, each machine is a version. That's how software scales, and Helion is applying this mindset to physics. This is what gives them leverage. While traditional fusion projects evolve over decades, Helion can iterate across generations of machines, faster feedback loops, faster learning, faster progress. And in a race defined by physics, speed of iteration becomes a weapon. But no last generation company is built on technology alone. It requires belief, long-term, almost irrational belief. Helion has attracted exactly that. Backed by investors like Sam Altman, alongside deep technical talent, the company isn't optimizing for short-term returns. It's building toward a single outcome, net positive fusion at scale. Because if they reach that point, the implications are not incremental, they are absolute. Energy becomes abundant, constraints disappear, AI systems scale without limitation, manufacturing becomes cheaper globally, clean energy is no longer a policy debate, it becomes the default. Entire industries reorganize around this new reality, and Helion doesn't position itself as a competitor in the energy market, it positions itself as the future infrastructure of energy itself. That's the monopoly endgame. Not owning market share but becoming the system everything else depends on. Like electricity grids once did, like the internet did. Invisible, essential, unavoidable. But this is where the tension remains. Because fusion has promised revolutions before and the physics is brutal. Achieving net energy gain is one challenge, maintaining it reliably, economically, and at scale is another. Many have tried, many have failed, and Helion is attempting something even harder, not just proving fusion works, but proving it can become a product, a repeatable machine, a scalable system, a business. That's what makes this a last generation bet. Because if they succeed, the current energy system doesn't evolve, it gets replaced, and if they fail, fusion remains what it has always been, the most powerful idea humanity couldn't make real. So the question isn't whether Helion is building a better reactor, it's whether they are building the final version of energy, the kind that doesn't need replacing, the kind that ends the search. Because last generation companies don't just win, they make everything before them irrelevant.